Welcome back. In this lecture, we are going to understand about Terraform Workspaces. So these workspaces, whatever we are going to discuss are CLI based workspaces. So there will be other workspaces in Terraform which are also called Terraform Cloud Workspaces. So those things we will discuss whenever we reach Terraform Cloud. But here whatever we are discussing are CLI based Terraform Workspaces. So Terraform starts with a single workspace named default. So in your Terraform working directory, so whenever you initialize the Terraform working directory, so whatever the default workspace you see, so that is called the default workspace here. Okay, so the entire thing you will be working on is the default workspace, but we really don't know that default workspace until and unless we learn about the workspace concept. Okay, so this workspace, whatever the default workspace, is special both because it is the default and also because it cannot ever be deleted. And in addition to that, by default we are working in the default workspace. And the advantage of using these named workspaces allow us conveniently switch between multiple instances of a single configuration within its single backend. So let's understand more about it. Okay, so we'll understand and then come back and then say more about it. So a common use for multiple workspaces is to create a parallel distinct copy of a set of infrastructure in order to test a set of changes before modifying the main production infrastructure. Okay, so that is very important thing here. So you have a infrastructure you have provisioned using your default workspace. Okay, and you have created two EC2 instances, one VPC and lots of stuff. Okay, and now you have some change came in and you really don't want to go and then try that change. Okay, so whatever the change you want to make, you really don't want to try that in the real default workspace configuration. So if you do that, then you will miss what you have changed earlier, correct, right? So to have the complete track of those things, so what a developer can do is, so he can create a new workspace with dev1 or dev2 or my trial, whatever your change ID number or whatever it is, create a temporary workspace. So automatically inside that workspace also all these configurations, whatever the template files are there, is going to work as is in a different workspace. Okay, so and then you can experiment all the changes there without affecting the default workspace. Okay, and then once you are thorough about it, again switch back to your original default workspace and then make the changes and then provision the changes to your real cloud infrastructure. So now this is one way of use case thinking, means like for this purpose we are going to use it. Okay, but if you see, Terraform will not recommend using workspaces for larger infrastructure in line with environment patterns like dev, QA and then staging. So you have a huge amount of configuration files from Terraform perspective, and then you are planning to use these CLI based workspaces for one for dev environment, one for QA environment, one for staging environment. Okay, you create workspaces like that. Okay, so that is not a recommended option when you have huge amount of configurations. So that's what Terraform says. In that line thinking and then implementing, at the end when you reach with huge infrastructures, then you will be in trouble. So with that said, always for large infrastructures, maintain separate configuration directories directly. Okay, so and then work for every environment, you will have your own default workspace there. Okay, so dev1 is separate directory and then inside that you have all your configuration files for dev1, dev2 in the same way. So that is a recommended option, but we have the workspaces related to CLI based thing. So if we want to experiment, explore and then also use it for this common developer use case, whatever we have discussed here, you can use it. And these CLI based Terraform workspaces also are not able to solve many problems from this environment perspective issues, whatever we are going to face when we go ahead and then implement. So that's the reason Terraform will not recommend this option. Okay, so as soon as we see this type of feature, immediately we will be tempted to use for our dev QA environments, but that's not the recommended option, guys. Okay, so now the next thing is Terraform CLI workspaces are completely different from Terraform Cloud Workspaces. Okay, so this is one thing which we need to know. So when you are running the Terraform Cloud Workspaces, you will know what exactly you are talking about. Okay, moving on. So there will be something called Terraform Workspaces related commands. Okay, so let's see what are those commands here. Okay, so you will use a Terraform Workspace show command to show your current workspace, whatever you are working on. And you can list all the workspaces present inside your Terraform working directory using Terraform Workspace list. And to create a new workspace, you are going to use Terraform Workspace new. In addition to that, if you want to switch between workspaces using Terraform Workspace select, you can do that. Finally, if you want to delete the workspaces, you can delete using Terraform Workspace delete. And again, to mention in detail, which is very important, is the default workspace cannot be deleted. So whatever you are working in the, whenever the Terraform is initialized, a working directory inside that working directory, so by default you will have the default workspace and that cannot be deleted. Moving on, so we are going to implement and then learn these commands with use case 1, which is with local backend, and also we are going to learn the same thing with the remote backend. So with that, what happens is, like with the local backend, how the terraform.tf state file is getting created with workspaces, you are going to know here in local backend, and in remote backend in AWS S3 also how it is going to create, and then how it is going to create the folder structure for each different workspace also you are going to learn. One important thing here is, whatever the workspace you create, it will have its own terraform.tf state file. So that is another important point to remember. So with that said, we are going to learn this with a practical example with step-by-step documentation on GitHub. Okay, so this completes the introductory part of Terraform Workspaces for CLI based workspaces. So in our next lecture, we'll go ahead and then practically implement the same thing. So I'll see you in the next lecture. Until then, bye bye. Thank you.